Hello, and I wanted to show a technique, useful technique for folks who have both EdgeRater and HGSI, and this is the ability to look at the performance of industry groups and the individual stocks within those industry groups over a specific time period. Now, a lot of software doesn't allow you to do that because they're always looking at particular look-back periods. For instance, you may be able to see the performance over the last year or the performance over the last week or month or day. But that's just a specific look-back period, taking the current day and going back a certain amount of time. But you may want to look at the performance of industry groups and stocks from a very specific starting date up until a very specific end date. And that's what this technique will allow you to do. I'll show you how to set this up later on, but first of all, I just want to show how this will work once you have it set up. So in the upper area of the report viewer, I have my performance between dates report for the industry groups. And in the lower area, I have my performance between dates report for all of the securities. And what you'll find, what you can see here is as I scroll down through, I'm now selecting the industry group from the top area. And as I come down through these industry groups, the lower report is refiltering each time just to show the stocks that are currently in that industry group. As I said, at the end, I'll show how to set this all up so that you can have this working the same way. But this is the technique that I wanted to highlight. So the dates that I've chosen here are the 1st of February until Friday, which was March the 11th. And the very top industry group here is elec and gas marketing and trading. And this, to start with, looks like a very impressive percent change. But then if you go down to the lower area, you can see there are only actually two securities in this industry group. And so even though there's 234% change in the group itself, there's only two stocks, and one of them had a 540% change. And if we click on that, we can see exactly what that is. That was INDO, and the other one had a 32% change. So that's GNE. Now, these reports are set up so that when you view the chart, it's going to overlay a linear regression line from the start date up until the chosen end date. So you always get a visual representation on the chart of the period that you're looking at as well. And the linear regression line is shown along with an upper and a lower line. And this is a channel, essentially a linear regression channel set at 2 standard deviations above the linear regression line, which is the midline. So that's how to read those charts. And I've set this chart up so I've got a weekly chart in the upper area and a daily chart in the lower area. Again, at the end, I'll show how to set that up. But just so you know what we're looking at, that's that. So then as we come down through the group, the next biggest percent change over that time frame is a 35% change in other mined minerals. Now, the contents of other mined minerals are down here. So you have SLCA, you have PLL, you have CMP, FLMN, and BSM. So one thing that's interesting here is as you look through these stocks, you can see the linear regression channel, but you can also note there are some stocks that are rising up in a very consistent fashion, and some that have a much wider channel. For instance, here, this channel is a lot wider. Now, some of the figures that are in this report will actually help you to identify those stocks that are rising consistently. Rather than going to look at the chart, you can actually just scroll over to the columns of linear regression channel. You can find the annual percent gain of the linear regression line. You can find percent B, which is where the stock is currently trading within the linear regression channel. So 95% will mean the stock is currently trading just below the upper line of the regression channel, whereas a 13% means the stock is trading just above the lower linear regression channel line. And then the bandwidth, or percent bandwidth, is how narrow the linear regression channel is. So a lower percent of bandwidth means that there's more of a there's less volatility essentially in the move. So these two stocks here, BSM and FLMN, have they've each had a gain over this period. So it's 12% for FLMN, and FLMN has gone up in a quite narrow regression channel, meaning the volatility has not been as high as some of these others. Whereas there's a 26% in PLL, 26% bandwidth, so a bit more volatile, but yet the current percent change on that is 45% in the time frame that we're looking at. So you go down through this list, you've got coal operations, agricultural chemicals, renewable energy, metal services, base metals. And if you look at base metals, there's quite the list down here of base metals. And the best performing base metal there is UEC, which is uranium energy. And then you come down through the list, you've got other stocks down here. So it's just a very useful view and arrangement of reports and charts to allow you to see what's happening in industry groups, and also the stocks in those industry groups over a specific chosen time period. So let's go and take a look at how to set this up. So here's how to set that up. First of all, the prerequisite is that you are using the generate indexes from warehouse template, and you can do this on a daily basis, but you do have to set that up as a one-time setup. So if you go to the EdgeRater YouTube channel and look for the EdgeRater for HGSI users series, then in video number 2 in basics, around the 10 minutes and 21 second mark, the section starts on generating indexes from warehouse. So if you are on the EdgeRater YouTube channel, you can find that video series by scrolling down through the playlists, and here's the EdgeRater for HGSI users playlist down here. And you'll see why it's important to have run that template initially. And I would recommend running that template every day because it gives you really good features, such as being able to run seasonality on industry groups and other things like that. And also, by running that template, it does generate for you an Excel file of the entire warehouse, which will be saved as a dated file on your hard drive. So if you ever wanted to go back and find out the state of an HGSI warehouse at any historical date, you can just open up the Excel file and go and look at the various fields. The first thing we need to do, as I said, is to have run the generate indexes from warehouse template. Once you've done that, you will find in your symbol lists, you will have these various symbol lists all starting with the word warehouse. So there's warehouse all securities, which is basically a symbol list of all of the securities that are in the warehouse. So currently 12,000 of those. And then the other one important one is the warehouse indexes industry. And this is basically EdgeRater generating indexes of the industry groups. Okay, so that's a symbol list of all of the industry group indexes. Okay, so the first thing you would do is go to the performance between dates template, which you will find in the Pro Tools category, performance between dates. And you will then change the dates on the template before you run it to be the dates that you're interested in discovering the movement of groups and stocks. So here I've set it to the current year, February the 1st to say March. We're currently on March. The last trading day was March the 11th, so we'll send that to March 11th. And I'm going to first run this on the industry groups. So now the report that it's going to give me is a report of all of the industry groups with from and to date, and then you've got your percent change just for those industry groups. Now, once you've run this, this will be important for a step we're going to do later. But and also, because you can't quite see all of the name of the industry group here, I'd like to widen this column out. In order to do that, I need to be able to see the headers, the A, B, C, etc. So what you can do here is just go up to your toolbar and say Display Headings. And now you're going to see your spreadsheet headings for the columns and also for the rows, row numbers. Now you can just grab this and slide it over so you can see the entire industry group name. And at this point, this is already sorted in terms of the best performing industry groups, where you have elect and gas, marketing and trading at the top, all going down all the way through the lists, the industry groups, until you get to the negative 27% industry group, which was e-commerce discretionary. So they're all sorted already in order. So that's great. And you could, just with this one report up, you can just select the various rows, and on the right hand side your chart will update, and I'll set this to be a line chart because we're looking only at an index, so we don't have open, high, low, close, we just have close value. So a line chart is good. And you can just scroll down through here and just get a nice view of the performance of various industry groups over that time frame with the linear regression line marked between the start and the end dates. What I like to do for this analysis is actually create a stacked layout of charts. So I go to my chart arrangements and I'll say weekly, daily stacked and click OK. It goes back to the default symbol, which is Microsoft, so you just have to reselect a cell over here to have it update with whatever is selected in the row, oil and gas services and equipment in this case. So the top chart is a weekly chart and the lower chart is a daily chart. So the weekly chart, it can be a candle chart because you will have open, high, low, close because you'll have the various days. But on a daily chart, you only have the one data point, which is the close. So on the daily chart, for looking at indexes, you could change this to line. But I'm going to leave it set to candles because of the next step I'm about to do. So I go back over to templates, and now I'm going to choose the warehouse all securities group. So a list of all 12,000 of the securities that are in the HGSI database. Leave my date range set to the same, and hit run on here. Now this will take a little longer to run because it's going through 12,000 securities and working out all of the linear regressions and the performance between the start and end dates. So we'll just let that run for a few more seconds. Okay, and so the report produced from running that on your warehouse all securities is a report of all of the 12,000 securities listed in percent change order. So the biggest percent change security is this Telemed, and the scroll to the very bottom of this list, you'll find there was some very big losing stocks over that time frame. So you can go through and take a look at those. Okay. So that's the first step. Now we've got these two reports up. One is the industry groups and one is the individual stocks. So the question then is, how do we get this? And let's drag one below the other. So we'll have industry groups on top and the stocks below. Now you'll notice as I go down through this at the moment, the lower list of stocks does not filter to the industry group because this lower list has no idea of industry groups. It doesn't know which stocks are in which industry group. And so that's a bit of information that we should add to this report. So what we'll do there is we'll just open we'll click on open, and this will bring up the warehouse archive. Now, because we ran the generate indexes from warehouse report, and we're doing this daily, we have the warehouse all securities report, okay, and that's going to be in your EdgeRater HGSI warehouse archive folder. And I'll open the latest one, which was 2022, March 11th. So I'll just open that up. Okay, now this is a report of the entire warehouse with all of the fields in. But the field that we're really interested in is the industry field. And what I want to do here is I want to select this industry column and click on copy column. And what I'm going to do is add it into my report down here of the various stocks. Now again, with this report, I'll go up to display headings to make sure I can select the columns and the rows. And I'll just choose a place to insert the industry group. So I'll come over here and I might just choose column C and then say insert copied column. Now that's going to copy in the industry groups where it finds a match for the symbol. So that will these will now all correctly be identified in their respective industry groups. And now, if we go back to the report of the performance of the industry groups, and now we select the different industry groups, we'll find that the report below filters to the respective group. Because now we've added the concept in this lower report that the stocks are associated with particular industry groups. And so there is some special behavior in EdgeRater reports, which is able to then filter a report based on that information. This will work on any report, by the way. It doesn't have to be performance between dates. So now as you scroll down through that, you see that as I select an industry group from the upper area, the lower area then filters to show me the stocks that are in that group. And they're also sorted by their performance between those two dates, which is your percent change column over here. And what I like to do over here is I've got this set up as weekly and daily, as I said. The lower area is set to candles, but because when I click on the industry group report, it's showing me the chart of the industry group. As I said before, the daily chart, we only have close points, so we're only going to see dots for those close points. But I'll keep it like that so that when I go down to one of the stocks in that group, that it stays as a candle chart, and that makes more sense in this particular case. So that's how to set that up. Fairly straightforward, and it does give you this great ability to determine the performance of industry groups and stocks within those groups over a set time period.